These are certainly unprecedented times that we're dealing with today. Like most manufacturers, Benz has had to change the way it operates on a daily basis. Given the circumstances that we're working with today, we thought it would be a good idea to bring Benz to you. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. John Kutcher, our Vice President of Technology, who's going to give you a virtual tour of our laboratory and our manufacturing operations.
Normally when I give this tour, I'm giving it to a very specific customer group who's interested in hydraulics, say, or cutting oils, or quench. This tour will be a little bit different. I'm going to hit the highlights of what we do here in the laboratory, both in terms of development and in terms of testing. This side of the lab we call the South Lab. This is where we do product development. Benz has over 500 products that we have to maintain. We have to make sure that they're manufactured correctly. We have to make sure that the raw materials we're using are kept up to date. And then of course we have to develop new technology. And that's what we do here in product development. There's not a lot of instrumentation in a product development laboratory. Developing a product, modifying an old one, is an iterative process. You test it for its weaknesses and you fix those weaknesses. And that has more to do with putting it together in a beaker, putting it together in a pail, getting it together in a drum, eventually bringing out in the field and testing it there. It's not a commercial product yet. We're still looking for any weaknesses that the product might have. Most often, we'll bring it back in the laboratory even after we've done field testing to address some issues that we would have never been able to find in simple laboratory testing. There's a lot we can do here, but there's even more that goes on in the field, as our customers know. In addition to testing how products will perform in the field, we have to make sure that they'll be stable. We have to make sure that they'll resist, say, bacterial growth in the case of water-based products. We have to make sure they don't foam. We have to make sure they don't cause corrosion on ferrous or yellow metals. So a lot of that type of testing also occurs here in the product development laboratory, with simulated coupons, with bacterial challenge tests, and also with tribometry tests. These are looking at how the lubricant interacts with two surfaces and reduces friction. That's the key here. We need to help reduce friction between the surfaces of our customers' machining operations, hydraulic operations, slide away oils. That's what lubrication is about. Now we're in the North Laboratory, where we do most of our testing and where most of our instrumentation is. The testing we do here is threefold: quality control, field samples, and troubleshooting. Quality control, every batch that's made is tested for specification. If it doesn't meet the specification, it is never seen at a customer. We also keep retains of every batch that we make, and in addition to that, once we make a batch and we transfer it to our drum line, we test it again to make sure it didn't get cross-contaminated in the lines. It's important not just for our ISO 9001 status, but to make sure that our customers are getting the same lubricant every single time. The second kind of sample that comes into the laboratory are field samples. They are registered into our laboratory information management system, and the data is collected and sent out to the customer, normally within 2 days of receiving the sample. The third type of testing that we do here is troubleshooting. The road isn't always smooth. Samples come in, our customers have issues, maybe with tooling or contamination, and it's our job to make sure that we can tell the customer what's going on with their lubricant. Is it in a good condition to continue? Is it being contaminated? If it is being contaminated, what is it being contaminated with? We have quite a bit of instrumentation here at the Benz laboratory. It's great for us because there are tools to help us find out what's in those samples. There are things we put in there and we want them to be there. Say phosphorus as an anti-wear agent, or zinc as an additive in a hydraulic fluid. And then there are things that we don't want in there, say cobalt from a carbide system. Instrumentation here allows us to determine the health of the fluid. Is it being contaminated? What might be not working in the fluid? We have instrumentation like an ICP, which does elemental analysis, FTIR, which does scans showing us normally things that we don't want to see. For instance, oil that has a little bit of water in it, it's going to come out in that FTIR over there. We have XRF, which also does elemental analysis, and then the king of all lubrication tests, viscosities. I'd like to show you our viscometer. I'm old enough to remember when we used to have to take tubes and clean them every single time, sit here with a timer, pull the sample up, click on it, and watch it time as it drew past the line. Even a good technician could maybe run 12 viscosities in an hour and have to sit there the entire time watching them. This is an auto viscometer. It can run 40 samples in an hour, and then the samples are put in, and once they're in, the technician can go on and do additional work. The answers to the question, what is the viscosity, are registered in the computer, and I'll even calculate a viscosity index if you want to look at the differences between a 40 degree C viscosity and a 100 degree C viscosity. There's some other tests that we do in here that are very important to our hydraulic oil customers. It's very important that a hydraulic oil is kept clean. So you have to know how many particles are in there. What size are the particles? This is a particle size analyzer, and we analyze every field hydraulic sample that comes in the laboratory and get that number back to our customers, as I said before, usually within 2 days. Sometimes we'll also use this for looking at dirt levels in very fine filtration systems for grinding. That will also tell us what we've got in the samples. Is it too dirty? Is it interfering with the grinding? It's very important for many types of oils that they don't get contaminated with water. Sometimes even level of water like 200 parts per million can mean the difference between an effective fluid and a non-effective one. These instruments are capable of testing oils for levels of water in the part per million range. This is key for quench oils in particular, where too much water could lead to an explosion in a plant. Quench oils are one of the most sensitive oils to water contamination. That's why we have a quenchalizer. Just determining that water isn't there isn't enough. The quenchalizer will actually measure and graph the ability for an oil to reduce the temperature of a metal surface. This is key for our quench customers. Every batch of lubricant has to begin with raw materials. We stock over 350 different raw materials to make the lubricants that we deliver to our customers. Some we maintain in drums, others in totes, and others in bulk. Here at Benz, we have 1.3 million gallons of bulk storage. That's key for us being able to purchase our oils from refiners in rail car quantities. Benz is a custom lube manufacturer. What that means is we not only make 6,000 and 8,000 gallon batches of hydraulic oil, but we'll also make a single drum for a customer. This is our small blend area. It's where we blend most of our water products and many of our very custom products that are made for customers that have the most demanding requirements for their lubricants. Of course, we also make standard hydraulic oils and other industrial lubricants in very large batches. This is our large blend area. As I said before, we can make batches up to 8,000 gallons, which means if you need a tanker car, we can deliver it to you. It also means that we can take advantage of large purchases of oil and large batch sizes to reduce costs for you. In the large blend area, everything is done by weight, not by volume. That gives us better precision. It makes our right first time pretty good too, normally greater than 96%. Here's our rail spur. It allows us to bring raw materials in quantities of over 24,000 gallons. It allows us to get a good price so we can pass that savings along to our customers. Back here, we've got some of our smaller storage tanks. They're only 20,000 gallons. Let's go look at the big ones. This is our North Tank Farm. It's where the majority of our storage is for our base oils, 1.3 million gallons. We stock about 20 different base oils, different viscosities, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, and of course Group 5. Every week, we sit down and review our inventory, trying to make the best purchases in bulk to get the best price. Let's go take a look at the warehouse. This is the Benz warehouse. We package our finished goods here. We store it here. Over 40,000 gallons, ready to ship out to you. That's about it for the virtual tour. You've seen the laboratory, you've seen production, now the warehouse. What you haven't seen is the people. And that's what's great about Benz. So give us a call. We always want to talk about advancing lubrication.